Prepare for warp speed as we embark on a voyage through the vast expanse of science fiction in movies and television series. From distant planets to alien civilizations, we delve into the heart of the unknown, unraveling the tales that have captured audiences for generations. Get ready to unlock the secrets of the universe on CodeFlix. Hello and welcome to CodeFlix, the podcast where we take a deep dive into your favorite sci-fi and fantasy TV shows and movies. I'm Andre Bonner, and in today's episode, we'll be unraveling the mysteries of the 2006 movie Deja Vu. Imagine you were at the center of events that could change time. Suppose you had the most important thing to explain to someone, but you know they wouldn't believe you. This movie really gets into that realm of having you question and try to understand the perceptions of time and the mysteries surrounding it. Deja Vu is a 2006 American science fiction action thriller film directed by Tony Scott, written by Bill Milsari and Terry Rossio, and produced by Jerry Bruckheimer. The film stars Denzel Washington, Paula Patton, Jim Caviezel, Val Kilmer, Adam Goldberg, and Bruce Greenwood. It involves an ATF agent who travels back in time in an attempt to prevent a domestic terrorist attack that takes place in New Orleans and to save a woman with whom he falls in love. Filming took place in New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina. The film premiered in New York City on November 20, 2006, and was released in the United States and Canada on November 22nd, 2006. It received mixed reviews from critics and earned $180 million worldwide against its $75 million production budget. It was the 23rd most successful film worldwide for 2006. The film was nominated for 6 awards, winning the International Gold Reel Award. In New Orleans, a ferry carrying U.S. Navy sailors and their families across the Mississippi River for Mardi Gras explodes, killing 543 people. ATF Special Agent Doug Carlin discovers evidence of a bomb planted by a domestic terrorist and examines the body of Claire Couchever, seemingly killed in the explosion but found in the river shortly before the time of the blast. Informing Claire's father and searching her apartment, Doug learns that she called his ATF office the morning of the bombing and determines that she was abducted and killed by the bomber hours before the explosion. Impressed with Doug's deductive ability, FBI Special Agent Paul Pizra invites him to join a new governmental unit investigating the bombing. Led by Dr. Alexander Denny, the team utilizes a surveillance program called Snow White, which they claim uses previous satellite footage to form a triangulated image of events 4.5 days in the past. Convinced that Claire is a vital link, Doug observes her past footage and is able to track the soon-to-be bomber when he calls about a truck she has for sale. Deducing that Snow White is actually a time window, Doug persuades the team to send a note to his past self with the time and place the suspect will be. His partner Larry finds the note instead and is shot attempting to arrest the suspect. By using a mobile Snow White unit, Doug is able to follow the suspect's past movement as he flees to his hideout with the wounded agent, and then witness the agent's murder. In the present, the bomber is taken into custody after facial recognition systems identify him as Carlin Orstat, an unstable patriot, rejected from enlisting in the military. He confesses to killing Larry and Claire, taking her truck to transport the bomb, and staging her death as one of the ferry's victims. The government closes the investigation, but Doug, convinced that Snow White can be used to alter history, persuades Denny to send him back to the morning of the bombing so he can save Claire and prevent the explosion. Doug survives the process by being sent back to a hospital emergency room where doctors are able to revive him. Stealing an ambulance, he arrives at the hideout in time to stop Claire's murder, but Orstat shoots him and flees with the bomb. Doug drives Claire to her apartment to treat her wound, but a suspicious Claire holds him at gunpoint and calls the ATF to confirm his identity. The call his office received the day of the bombing. He convinces her of the truth, and they leave together for the ferry dock. Doug boards the ferry seeking to disarm the bomb in Claire's truck, but Orstat realizes he has been followed and captures Claire, tying her truck's steering wheel. A gunfight ensues, but Doug distracts Orstat with information from his future. Interrogation, and Claire rams him with the truck, allowing Doug to shoot him dead. Doug gets into the truck to try to free Claire, but police surround them. Out of time to disarm the bomb, they drive the vehicle into the river, saving the ferry passengers. Claire swims free, but Doug is unable to escape the damaged truck and dies in the underwater explosion. Picked up by a rescue boat, a mourning Claire is approached on the pier by the Doug Carlin from her present timeline. The film explores the concept of time travel and follows an ATF agent who becomes involved in a government program that allows him to view past events in order to prevent a terrorist attack. Here are some key themes and symbols from the movie. Time and reality. One of the central themes of Deja vu. In the nature of time and reality, the film raises questions about the possibility of altering the past and the consequences of changing the course of events. It delves into the philosophical implications of time travel and the concept of fate versus free will. And you see, that is something that is very central to this type of story or narrative, that you are, even though you know time is, or you understand time to be a little bit more rigid and unchanging, you're put into a position of actually seeing things change, or change just enough to allow for a change in time. Surveillance and control. The movie explores themes of surveillance and government control. The protagonist the ATF agent Doug Carlin becomes involved in a secretive government program that uses advanced surveillance technology to investigate crimes. The film raises ethical questions about the use of surveillance and the balance between security and personal privacy. And this is something that comes up a lot. It's an ongoing debate that what lens will we go to try and catch our criminals? What lens will we go to try and protect people? Are we going to put people into a position where they don't have any privacy because we want to try and ensure that we're watching their backs for them? Trauma and loss. Deja vu deals with themes as the plot. The protagonist grapples with the emotional impact of the attack and becomes determined to prevent it from happening again, leading him to explore the limits of time travel. And, this is something that probably I will speak about more, but here I just want to say that the fact that Doug Carlin saw that opportunity, and he seized it in order to maintain some kind of sense of wanting to have control. He wants to be able to solve this case and to have people go home instead of having to go and deliver bad news to the family to say, hey, this happened or that happened. Redemption and sacrifice. As the story unfolds, Doug Carlin is faced with difficult choices and moral dilemmas. The film explores themes of redemption and sacrifice as Carlin risks his own safety and sanity in order to save lives and prevent future tragedies. His journey involves personal growth and self-discovery as he confronts his own demons and seeks to make a difference. And of course, we see this with the ending, where at least one version of Doug ends up dying, and that in itself is almost like a savior complex. Is that all right? I die in order for you to live. So that kind of thing. Let's look at some of the symbols. Watches and clocks. Throughout the movie, watches and clocks serve as a symbol of time and the passage of time. These symbols reinforce the central theme of time travel and reminds viewers of the importance of timing in the plot. And yes, that is something, because especially when Doug looks at his watch and, the clock's out to say, hey, we are running out of time. This, what we're doing now, has to progress. And so as the plot progresses, you see it be more progressively more out there. Mirrors and reflections. Mirrors and reflections are used symbolically in Deja vu to represent the idea of parallel universes and alternate realities. The film plays with the concept of multiple timelines and suggests that the past, present, and future are interconnected in complex ways. Yes, and that is essentially the fact that it's almost like them watching the lady through the device that they had. It was almost like looking through a glass. It was almost like being able to peer into the past. So, bridges and tunnels. Bridges and tunnels feature prominently in the movie, both visual and symbolically. These structures represent the passage from one state of being to another and serves as a metaphor for the journey through time and space that the character undertake. Yes, we see a lot of that, especially with the chase, using the Snow White to chase down, over bridges and so on, and that in itself represents so much.
So let's look at the characters. The main characters, Doug Carlin, played by Denzel Washington. Doug is the protagonist of the film, a seasoned ATF agent with a keen eye for detail and a determination to solve cases. Washington plays Carlin as a dedicated and relentless investigator, driven by a sense of duty and justice. Carlin's analytic mind and intuition leads him to uncover the truth behind a terrorist attack in New Orleans. His pursuit of justice becomes personal when he becomes emotionally invested in saving the life of a woman named Claire Kucheva, whom he believes may be a victim of the attack. Claire Kucheva, played by Paula Patton. Claire Kucheva is a key character in the film whose involvement in the terrorist attack sets the plot in motion. Patton plays or portrays the character as a compassionate and resilient woman who becomes entangled in a dangerous conspiracy. As Carlin delves deep into the investigation, he develops a connection with Claire and becomes determined to alter the course of events to save her life. Claire's character serves as both a catalyst for the plot and an emotional depth, and a source of emotional depth, highlighting the human costs of terrorist attack and the importance of redemption. Agent Prizer. Agent Prizer is Carlin's colleague and leader of the secretive government program responsible for developing a revolutionary surveillance technology known as Snow White. Kilmer portrays Prizer as a stoic and enigmatic figure whose motivation and loyalty remain ambiguous throughout the film. As Carlin's partner in the investigation, Prizer provides crucial insights and assistance, but his true agenda is revealed as the plot unfolds. Carol Orstat, played by Jim Caviezel. Orstat is the primary antagonist of the film. A brilliant but disturbed ex-military scientist who orchestrates the terrorist attack in New Orleans. Caviezel portrays Orstat as a complex and menacing figure, driven by a twisted sense of revenge and a desire to manipulate time itself. As Carlin races against the clock to stop Orstat's plans, he confronts a formidable adversary whose actions have far-reaching consequences. The idea of a time travel thriller film originated between screenwriters Bill Marsellini and Terry Rosso, who were friends. Rosso had a one-page idea for a film called Prior Conviction about a cop who uses a time window to look 7 days into the past to investigate his girlfriend's murder. As they were talking about it, Marcelli says, "I have this explosive kind of epiphany. No, he should fall in love with her while he's watching the last few days of her life. The first time he sees her should be at her autopsy." Rousseau later wrote, "The first concept was good, and the second concept was good too, and together they were great ideas. Ideas and issues and themes seemed to resonate, and in the end, the screenplay felt as if it was telling a single powerful story. Principal photography in New Orleans, Louisiana was delayed following Hurricane Katrina because of the devastation caused by the storm and the collapse of the levees. Many of the exteriors were set to be shot in New Orleans, including a key sequence involving the Canal Street ferry across the Mississippi River. After the city was reopened, the cast and crew returned to New Orleans to continue filming. Some scenes of the post-Katrina devastation were worked into the plot, including those in the lower Ninth Ward. Additionally, evidence of Katrina's impact on the city was worked into the script. The filming crew spent 2 weeks filming a scene at the 4 Mile Bayou in Morgan City, Louisiana. To create a sense of realism, Scott and Washington interviewed numerous men and women whose real-life occupations pertain to positions in the Federal Bureau of Investigation and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. Washington had noted that he and Scott conducted similar research during the production of Man on Fire and Crimson Tide. In terms of the design in particular, visual effects, the film used a lot of visual effects to portray the concept of time and time travel and the manipulation of space-time. Scenes involving the time-bending effects are seamlessly integrated into the narrative, enhancing the sense of mystery and suspense. Set design. The movie features a mix of practical sets and digital environments to create its futuristic and contemporary settings, from the high-tech surveillance headquarters to the bustling streets of New Orleans. The set design added the depth and authenticity to the film's world. Costume design. The costume design reflects the characters' occupations and personalities. Denzel Washington's character, Doug Carlin, wears a typical attire for a law enforcement agent, while other characters' costumes complement their roles within the story. Sound design. The film's sound design contributes to the overall tension and atmosphere, from the intense action sequences to the subtle sounds of time manipulation. The sound effects enhance the story even more. And this is really true, especially when it comes to melding all of the great elements that make up this movie. It really says time travel, it really says mystery, it really says go for it, you know. Deja Vu premiered in New York City on November 20, 2006, 2 days before its wide release in all of the United States and Canada. Alongside Mexico, the 3 countries were the sole nations to open the film in November. The United Kingdom opened the film on December 15, 2006, and was followed shortly thereafter by New Zealand on December 22nd. Australia was the last English-speaking country where the film premiered on January 18, 2007. The film opened in the number 3 spot with 20.5 mil in 3,108 theaters. on an average of 6,619 per theater. Deja Vu ran for 14 weeks, staying in the top 10 for its first 3 weeks. It grossed $64 million in the United States and Canada and $160.5 million in other territories for a worldwide total of $180.6 million against a production budget of $75 million. These earnings made Deja Vu the 23rd most successful film of 2006 worldwide. So here are some of my favorite moments from Deja Vu. In the opening credits, I noticed that it did the double take, right? And a lot of movies do that little thing where they, introduce the elements just to kind of put a little polish on the movie. And I think that was a really good, one. Claire Kucheva gets out of the shower because she senses someone watching her. Now, that to me was very, 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 risky because, you are fully in the shower, you're naked, and you're trying to get yourself clean. And without a thought, you just step out of the shower. And I can imagine that the way they wanted to portray it was as if she sensed that somebody was watching her, But, most times when we say we sense something, it's because, our environment has changed in some way. It's either we heard something, we saw something, and that can really make you, think or, look at stuff. So, yeah, I think that's something that, I found very crazy. When Doug Carlin broke the field with his pen light, his laser light, so he's there and he's noticing something that he can't really explain. He doesn't really understand what is going on. And so he thinks to himself, I'm wondering if I, take my pen and just throw it at the screen. But I'm saying, hey, this screen, you can imagine, costs some money, right? And you're going to take that and you're going to try to break it just to see what happens, right? But it's not, it's different because you're using an actual, light, to break through the screen. And it's something that's probably not fully explained in the film, but that window, right? It allows light to pass through, right? And they did later explain that the way how matter passes through is that it has to be in a particular state, so it cannot be living matter. But, that idea, that concept starts with being able to take something that is light, and it's something that I didn't get to fully study in my little learning about physics and chemistry. But light does act at a certain level like ordinary matter because it composed of energy. And that's the funniest thing about it, that scientists have tried to do research, into this, have not been able to come up with anything that would dispute that yet. So that's something that we could possibly use to say, it is theoretical, and that's why they call these things theoretical physics, because there is things that you can't really test, or to that level. So the other moment that I liked the most was, you know, or, you know, I would say not really like the most, but like I find very, very amusing and crazy about some of these action films is the amount of motor vehicle accidents that occur while Doug Carlin is pursuing the suspect down the road. I'm like, bro, why you're mashing up so much vehicle just to pursue this suspect and he's not even physically there? You're watching him back in the past, you know what I'm saying? And stuff. Yeah, it's crazy, bro. It's crazy. I guess an additional theory that I have based on the movie would be the way all the movie was written. And the end, we noticed that we have come full circle because, and this is something that happens in most time travel flicks, that we start off at the end of, or what would be a possible future, and we basically go back and start telling the story from where it would have started. So we start in the future and then we end up in the past. Now, whether it was an alternate timeline or a new universe or whatever that particular scientific explanation could be, what we notice is that at the end of the film, it is almost as if it didn't really matter. What Carlin went through really didn't matter, because at the end, what occurred was gonna occur anyways in that timeline, in that universe, right? And why I say this is because looking at the way how he got himself into the certain circumstances. So it was because of the explosion, right? So if the explosion never occurred on the boat and killed all those people, he wouldn't have been, fully invested in trying to solve the case, or as fully invested. You would still be invested in trying to figure out why is it that somebody bomb up the ocean, or almost bomb up somewhere, even if it went off. Because at the end, we got that impression that, hey, him saved this lady, right? And that was the icing on the cake. So in addition to saving all of those lives, he would have saved hers. And his death and his new life, or his, because it would be another version of him in that alternate timeline or universe, would be able to live this life. And the only way that one would know about what would have happened is because Claire would be able to tell that story. But she wouldn't be able to tell it in that alternate, way, in terms of she would only be telling it from her point of view, what has happened to her. So, she ended up being kidnapped by this man, and he was gonna kill her, and she was saved by, his other. So, and that's why I'm thinking about the fact that the ending of the film did do justice, because to take something like that and to try to add to this in terms of to probably make it into a sequel or something like that, would you would lose a lot of points. It would cause, it would cause a fracture in the universe. Remember to share your favorite moments in Deja Vu. Give me your opinions, on what you think went well and what didn't go so well for you. So in this episode, we looked at... Yes, that's Deja Vu. And all the elements that made the story such a engrossing and fantastical story. What were the characters who made that story come to life? How the production and design helped to bridge the gap in building up the world that we have come to know around this particular setting. We also looked at some of the reception that it had. The box office, it was garnered acclaims and awards. We also looked at some of my theories on some of my favorite moments in this film. As per usual, I want to encourage you to subscribe and to follow the podcast for future deep dives into the world of sci-fi that we've come to know. We are working on several different projects, several different episodes, working at them, trying to get them to you so that you can have a wonderful, enjoying experience listening and even perhaps rewatching some of these wonderful science fiction gems. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here and reaching this far in yet another podcast episode.
See you next time.